until we get on our cause. So as this debate unfolds, it is important that we approach it with historical memory and strategic clarity. Jamaica's relationship with Cuba goes back for decades, shaped in large part by the ideological moment of the 1970s when Manley forged a close relationship with Fidel Castro during the height of the Cold War. That period reflected a broader experiment with democratic socialism and third world solidarity. But Jamaica today operates in a very different global environment. We're a small, open economy with trade in tourism, investment flows, and diaspora connections remain deeply intertwined with the United States. That reality doesn't require hostility towards Cuba, nor does it erase the valuable contributions the Cuban doctors have made to healthcare in the Caribbean. What it does require is a clear-eyed realism. When governments evaluate international programs, whether medical missions or labor mobility agreements, the responsibility is to ensure those arrangements align with our labor standards, our democratic values, and our long-term national interests. Because foreign policy for small states is really about ideology, it's pragmatism. So it's balance, pragmatism, and understanding where your country stands in the global system. And ultimately, the responsibility of leadership is not to relieve the politics of the Cold War, but to make decisions that best serve Jamaica today. And that is the understanding that we must walk away from this debate with. Don't listen to the dishonest political rhetoric in the parliament that is making it sound as if somehow the government is bowing to pressure from the United States. It's the political framing of the narrative. I hate the dishonesty in the politics. Good afternoon. Good evening, Chuck.
Good evening, neighbor.
How are you doing, man?
I am doing good, sir. I'm doing good.
Yes.
Why, I like you. I've been on this topic since morning.
Oh,
Trying to get people to understand that, you know, this is not as simple as we might think it is.
yes,
This is a problem that we've had for 50 years.
yes. And Chuck,
That
why have we allowed this to continue? Because at the very heart of it, Chuck, it is a state sponsored disadvantage to the doctors. Can you imagine working your salary, sir, and your money go to the government?
Neighbor, I asked the question today. I asked which Jamaican, especially the ones overseas, would agree to going to work and sending back even 10% of their salaries to the Jamaican government.
I remember, is 100% of it go to them. Is them decide to send what they want to send back to the people,
Right. Right. Which Jamaica would agree to work under that system? And the answer is none, not one of them.
Let me ask you this, because what has been introduced to the debate, Chuck, is the farm work program. Why are we so dishonest, man, on the other side? Why is the farm work program being compared to this?
The farm work program is nothing compared to this, neighbor. Not one thing. Not even the slightest comparison can be made.
But why is it even raised?
Because these people, they are willing to grab anything to what we will say, sorry, the word that slipped me now. They are willing to grab onto anything to give any level credibility to what they know is wrong, what they know was a wicked act that Jamaica, and yes, Jamaica has helped to perpetrate on the Cuban people. Neighbor, this is nobody, none of us, neighbor, none of us, not you, not me, had ever thought about the details of this arrangement until now.
Yes.
Last year, when the Secretary of State came here and they labeled the program as state-sponsored human trafficking. I was one of them that was angry at that labeling of the program. I never liked that labeling of the program. I did not like it. And I thought they were rude for doing that, neighbor. But now I realize that they were correct, neighbor. It is indeed state-sponsored human trafficking. And Jamaica has been a party to it for 50 years.
Yes.
50 years we've been a party to it, but the thing is, like I said, no one has ever looked at the details of this arrangement. Right? So, majority of us owe the United States an apology because majority of us is cursing when they call it that.
True.
Right?
Because we just don't understand.
We just don't understand. But now that we've looked into it and we realize what is going on here, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. And particularly about for those sitting on the PMP side, they should have been very upset at this neighbor, rather than try to find a way to justify.
You seem a little far. You seem a little far from your phone, though.
Oh, I apologize. Sorry, yeah. Even those sitting on the PMP bench, neighbor, should be very upset at this program, neighbor. There is no justifying it, neighbor. No justifying. I've been trying to find out when was the last time a review was taken of this program, but I was told it has not been reviewed. It was just extended year after year after year.
But the PNP is aware that this is a program that the Cuban government used to fund the budget.
Used to fund the budget, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know what Dr. Dawes in Parliament asking about pressure from Washington. This program should have been ended long time.
Long ago, if somebody had just take a look at it, neighbor. But I was told it was just automatic extension that took place. No real this was the first renegotiation. This was the first attempt at renegotiation where we can submit. And neighbor, how can giving people their travel document, how can freedom of movement be a sticking point for you? Where you're sticking out against giving people their travel document so they can decide when they can go for a trip.
Yeah.
How can being threatened with being sent to a less than ideal location be something? How can you be threatened if you form a relationship? Neighbor, you're a Cuban man, you come in Jamaica and meet a nice Jamaican girl. You can't even look at the girl without getting permission from back home. Neighbor, I tell you, neighbor, I feel this one. And I commend the government.
I do, sir. I absolutely do.
I commend the government for taking the stance that we're gonna end it.
Absolutely do,
yes,
sir.
We're gonna end it. It's a good move by the government, and I don't care what anybody says. Whether it be if it is pressure from US, then I commend the US for putting the pressure neighbor. Because I wouldn't want this. I wouldn't want any member of my family to have it, and I don't want it for anybody else.
Yeah. No, Chuck. One of the things that Jamaicans have never done is to really trust their government and the decisions government make. But when we elect a government, Chuck, we do so expecting the government to act on our behalf and act in the best national interest. And isn't this what is happening?
It is exactly what is happening, neighbor. But one of the problems with our politics, neighbor, is that our opposition is too involved. Now, I don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's not a place for them, because they are in central and overseer. But our government, our opposition feel to think they can run the country from the opposition bench. There is not just there to hold accountable, Their attempt is to run this country from the opposition bench, and that is the problem with them. Right? So even when that bad policy neighbor, and I heard something today that somebody asked, why would Michael Manley, who was a trade unionist, sign this agreement? But I don't, Michael Manley wasn't a trade unionist. Michael Manley was a communist, not a trade unionist. Right? And this, how does Guyana, Barbados get a different arrangement from Jamaica? Because of the person that was signing our one.
Yes.
The person that was signing our one is somebody who professed that he will follow Fidel Castro to the mountaintop and back. Yes. The person that was signing our agreement is somebody that gave Jamaica away when I say this, neighbor people shock, Michael Manley gave Jamaica away when he was on a visit to the Kremlin with Fidel. He offered up Jamaica as the next communist state in the Caribbean. Gave us away.
Yes.
That is the person that signed that agreement with the Cuban government to exploit the Cuban people. And I, for one, neighbor, as a Jamaican, I would offer my apologies for the Cuban people for our part in this, because all of us that go to a hospital and I was tended to by a Cuban doctor or a Cuban nurse or a Cuban teacher, we were party to that exploitation, neighbor.
But you know something, Chuck, and I think probably myself, even the party, you don't get the sense that we are not au fait. We're not aware of these historical decisions and how they impact our lives today. Because I was shocked today. I spent quite a few hours with my research assistant looking into this matter, and I was shocked to discover that this was the largest income earner for Cuba. And we are here supporting this, because when the story broke, it was like shocking. People were saying, how could the government do this? The Cuban doctors are here helping Jamaicans. How could the Cuban? But when you look at it, you wonder, why didn't they stop this long time, man?
Like I said, neighbor, I believe, and I don't want to sound like I'm excusing it, because I believe that this thing, neighbor, nobody ever look at the intricacies of this agreement. It was just the last time there was an upsurge in this agreement in it. It was signed in 1975. Edward Seaga ended diplomatic relation in the 80s with Cuba. He removed all the Cuban from Jamaica, and that ended the agreement. When Michael Manley came back to power in 1989, he started back diplomatic relation, and therefore the work started again. And from that, they were in power for 18 years, right? Nobody look at that. It was just an automatic. Bruce Golding in 2008, they started with Venezuela, in conjunction with Venezuela, they started the name of it is slipping me, but the iCare program to Cuba. The iCare, I forgot, the cataract program where the technician came here. That was an extension of that. But even that, nobody looked at the details of this. Nobody looked at the details. But, and again, neighbor, the details of this contract in the neighbor would not have been in the one that was signed with Jamaica too,
Correct.
It was in the contract between the doctors and the Cuban government, which is different from the one that they signed with Jamaica.
Correct. Yeah.
So the exploitation, the details of the exploitation was not in the agreement with Jamaica. It was in the individual contract that the Cubans signed with their government for bringing them through school and through medical school and then putting them on the mission.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what I found today is that Cuba is really training these as they're just rolling them off the conveyor belt to send them around the world so that they can make money off them.
It's an asset, neighbor.
Yeah. Wow.
Now I asked a question earlier, neighbor. When Michael Manley declared free education up to university, was this his plan for Jamaica?
Well, boy, I tell you. But you know what is sad? I have an interview at 8 and I have to leave you. Chuck, is that you still get a sense that the PNP has not moved completely away from these socialist reformist rhetoric. You listen to the PNP and they still seem to be into redistribution. Fascinating.
Neighbor, if the Ministry of Foreign Affairs did not release that letter over the weekend, you would hear the PNP said, neighbor. If they did not release a statement explaining why the agreement came to an end, you think you'd hear them so quiet?
Wow. Well, we need to talk about this a little bit. The finance minister speaks tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, man.
We'll have a talk.
I'll be here when you finish. Don't worry.
All right, cool.
All right.
Thank you, listeners. We have a special guest with us. We're coming back in 30 seconds. Stay tuned. right, everybody, welcome back to the Politics Plus podcast. Your host is Hello Neighbor. Our moderator tonight is Shefreen. Caroline is behind the glass. Our Kadian is my research assistant. Great to have you. Good evening to you, Mr. Oates.
Good evening.
Doing all right, sir?
Thanks for having me.
Hello?
Under the circumstances, of course. Under the circumstances, yes.
Yeah, man. Well, it's great to have you, Craig. Craig, what do you have to say about this? Do you have a comment on the impasse now between the government and the Cuban medical doctors? Do you understand the issue?
As somebody who grew up in the 70s,
yes,
I am very cognizant of the situation that presently exists. And for those of us who have a good memory will remember that it was the former Prime Minister, Michael Manley, in the 1970s, who said that we are not angering the United States of America. It is them that is angering us. I'm saying this to say that in the geopolitical world that now exists, the government has played its best hand. There is no other hand there for them to play.
Okay.
We have.
Let's back up a little bit, Mr. Oates. You spent a significant part of your political life within the People's National Party. What was the defining moment that made you realize that your political future was no longer there?
It was really not a moment. It was probably a culmination of moments. Because what happened is the PNP that I grew up supporting.
Yes.
In the 70s and 80s and up until recently.
You were around in the 70s as an adult?
No, I was a child, but I grew up around politics.
Okay.
I grew up. I have been very political since birth.
Since birth.
I was what you call, I remember the PNP really is a cult party, you know.
A what?
The cult.
Hold on. Mr. Oates, that's a very strong allegation. You know what cultism is, sir?
I think you probably should ask me for back up whatever it is that I said.
Hold on there, Mr.
Yeah, but if you ask me the question, you have to allow me to answer though.
No, but I want to get what you're saying, that the PNP is a cultic organization.
Yes.
Well, go ahead. Tell me what you mean by that.
A cult is really something that you use symbolism and you use mind control to really exert control over your followers. And if you look at the PNP, their biggest symbol is Michael Manley, right? And no matter, probably 70% of the population don't even understand what Michael Manley was about. But they used the symbolism of Manley. They tried it with Portia, but Portia basically was more of a commercial endeavor to secure votes. But symbolism in that, and I've said this to people, in that you have, the persons, the PNP putting in the minds of voters or supporters that they are the only persons that can run government. And the JLP, and I've said this, in terms of their communication, I think that they continue to underestimate how the PNP communicate in the street.
Hold on, sir. Hold on. You're saying to me that the Jamaica Labour Party is underestimating the impact of the PNP's PR machinery on the ground.
Yeah, and the PR machinery is not even something that is a planned machinery. It is something that is inherited, but it is something that still holds sway. So how the PNP operate is that them use a bar, them use a dead yard, them use the round robins, and them use the people in the corner, and them use the yard them were big. So
This is strategy.
Yeah, this is strategy that has grown into commonality for them. That is what they know how to do. So it is very easy if you just get all a youth now. Like you have a youth on TikTok named Derval.
Oh,
But him basically not have no sense.
No. Well, no, I don't call nobody.
Anyway, you have people who are empty vessels. So what you do is you basically just give them the information. So you go to one bar and you buy a drink. And someone in there and say, oh, you know that Siaga, a Bruce Golden shoot out in the eye.
hold on for me, Mr. Oates. I have to take a small break here. So just give me a second. I'm up on a little bit of break. Coming right back to you. Give me a second. Craig Oates is on the Politics Plus podcast, and we want to welcome him back. He's telling me a little bit about the political inner workings of the People's National Party. Want to move you on though, Mr. Oates. The point you just made about the PNP's communication strategy. Would you want to develop that a little bit more for me? I'm going to ask you, Mr. Oates, if you could just, in your response, not to mention anyone's name, just speak in general terms, okay? Please.
As it relates to,
there are thousands of people listening to you right now. So don't watch. I'm going to tell you. Well, yeah. You have almost 3,000 people listening to you. Just don't mention any names.
Fair enough. What I'm trying to say is that the PNP utilizes the people them we call the dunces and the loudmouth to get their message across. And you probably think that it probably look very harmless, but it has been a strategy, and we have seen them. If you go back in time, this was used to demonize Edward Siaga. This was used to demonize Bruce Golden.
But when did you realize
this is
because you stayed with this?
You can let me just finish, please.
Okay.
You can just allow me to finish, because when you ask a question, I will try to get out what it is that I want to say, please. It was used against Andrew Holness, but because it is now the age of technology, where you have people like my good friend Chopper John from Mobile and other bloggers like probably yourself and others in the JLP, getting the message out.
well sir. Sorry. Go ahead.
Had Andrew Holness been in the 80s, 70s, or 90s, the same level of propaganda would have brought him down in flames.
What are you saying to me? But you, Mr. Oates, was a part of this cultic organization you are describing, and you sought to represent them in Parliament. Why?
If you're a member of a cult, you think as a cult. But am I on trial here?
No. But
is my past on trial?
No. Isn't there reasonable? The listeners would.
No. Let me just have some ground rules here. Is it that my past in the PNP is on trial?
No,
it's not here for that.
I don't know why you call it
trial. I am
trial.
here working my butt off to ensure that the message. No. You're not allowing me to talk, though, you know. You are doing an interview with me, and you ask a question, and I start talking, and you like saying to me, but probably that's your style, But if it is that you want to hear what is it that I am going to say, you need to allow me. If it is that
Yeah,
you're here to speak
but
about
with respect, Mr. Oates, I want to understand what you are saying, and I need to get
you
an
can't understand
understanding.
what I'm saying, but you're not going to understand what I'm saying if every single 4 or 5 words that come out of my mouth, you're going to be butting and stopping me. If you want to ask me, please allow me to express myself.
All right, sir. Go
Let me
right
just
ahead.
make that clear.
Go right ahead. But the ground rules are set by us, and we're giving you an opportunity. But you don't think that it's important to understand why you?
No. I do what you do too. And if I ask someone a question, I allow them to answer. And I'm saying to you that if it is that you ask me a question, allow me to respond. I was in the PNP, and there's a reason that I am now in the GLP. There is a reason that I am promoting the GLP. I don't see why I should come on a program, and I've been on many programs, to go back in my past in the PNP, figure regurgitate my past in the PNP. We need to be looking towards the future. So if that is where you're going, I'm not going to go there. I'm past that.
Can I ask you another question, sir, please?
Yes, you can.
Having experienced both parties, what would you say is the biggest difference in how the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party operates internally?
I think politics is politics. I think that the JLP over the last 15 years or so has evolved into what the PNP was in the 1970s. I think that the JLP coming out of the 80s, 90s was seen as the brown man, the big man party, the capitalist party. I think that starting with probably Bruce Golding, but accelerated under Andrew Michael Holness, the JLP is now looked on as the poor man party. The roles are flipped, and the PNP is now viewed as the party of capitalism. So the difference now with the GLP is that the GLP programs are now slated to touch all the way down to the poor. And if you look at even the hurricane that has just passed, you can observe, you see the Minister of Labour out there, Pernell Charles, and you see the level of, how am I call it now? You see the level, the high level that they have placed on ensuring that the poor and the vulnerable amongst us get their just reward. As it relates to the PNP, it is just basically jobs for the boys and food for the supporters. The JLP, rightfully or wrongfully, thinks Jamaica, them think about, remember, I know when Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister, brought the leaders of CARICOM into the country after the hurricane, you know which constituency he went? He went into Eastern Westmoreland. That's where Dayton Campbell, the General Secretary of the People's National Party constituency, is. So, you know, honestly, you have a look at it to say that Holness has really evolved as a leader. And he has flipped the roles of the GLP to what, in my opinion, the PNP was. The GLP is now for free education. The GLP is now for free healthcare. That was what the PNP was in the 70s and 80s. I don't know what, as a matter of fact, I don't think the PNP used to be based off ideology. I don't see any ideology coming out of the PNP right now. I'm just not getting that.
Are you through, sir?
Yeah, man, I'm true.
I don't want to I don't want to interrupt your answers. When you made a decision to move on politically, What was the reaction from people inside the PNP who knew you personally?
The PNP is a cult party. So if it is that you say you're going to leave, a political death is wish for you. People who want you were friends is no longer going to be friends. So, I mean, we are here going off me leaving PNP, whatever. The PNP is a cult party. It's a cult. It's a cult.
Uh-huh. Would you mind getting my listeners to understand a little bit more of that cultism? We don't know about.
I'm not hearing you.
Would you mind exploring with me a little bit more of what, when you say cult, that's cultism, what does that involve?
Cultism means everybody think like-minded. You defend things even if you know say it is wrong or right. I mean, I don't know how else to explain that to you.
Okay. Mr. Oates, now that you're a member of the Jamaica Labour Party, do you have aspirations of becoming a member of parliament still?
My aspirations is to help my community and to help my parish. That has always been my aspirations. Real power comes from the people. I mean, me being a member of parliament or an elected official is neither here nor there to me. I have been very blessed by God. You understand? And as somebody just type, there are elements in the party of both parties that remain the same. You understand? My intention has always been putting our community first, putting our youth first. I see the GLP right now as the best person or the best party that is driving that agenda. But I mean, I'm here, I'm probably laughing at your line of arguing or questioning, because I was probably expecting, there's so much things we can talk about. We have spent the last 10 minutes to talk about the cultism at the PNP.
You raised it, you know, you raised it, you know, Mr. Oates.
I never raised it. You asked me a question and I responded in light terms.
Yes, and I was just trying to explore it. So you say that representational politics is not in your immediate on your immediate agenda. What you are doing is trying to.
I never said that. Certain things are personal until it becomes public. I say I continue to work for the people in my community and in my parish.
Fantastic. Okay, give me your personal view, Mr. Oates, of the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. What do you think about it?
I think that the Prime Minister is really a phenomenal young man. I think that coming out of the bruising leadership race against Ardley Shaw that got him the top position, he has since evolved into what I believe is the most effective leader in the history of the country. And if you look at his electoral wins, he has developed not just as a leader, but he has developed as a person. And I think that his heart is in the right place. I think that his intent is in the right place. And if you look at what is happening in the country in terms of infrastructural development, if you look at, I'm just speaking about my neck of the woods, back over in Montego Bay, Western Jamaica. You look at the bypass, I go bypass Montego Bay now. You look at big buildings like Pinnacle and those places going up. You speak to people in the real estate market, they tell you that the richest part of Mobile, Iron True and those places, probably little or no land left. Everything is being developed. You look at the crime in the country, the Prime Minister and Dr. Horace Chang, my fellow Cornwallian, you know, we need to take a hat off to them, because reducing crime in this country was not based off of just going out there and locking up people. Reducing crime really is a mindset. And the mindset that was really created was that if criminals commit the crime, the police is going to let them do the time, whether dead or alive. And it so happens that the message is getting to the criminal. And it is the first time, probably in the last 20 or more years, that criminals in Jamaica are on the run and they don't sleep peacefully. So again, I'm saying that all of this is long-term strategic vision that the Prime Minister of the country has laid out.
Fantastic. If I could take you a little back, Mr. Oates, the PNP has been questioning the government's decision regarding the Cuban medical program. Given your experience within the party, do you think those concerns are driven by genuine policy disagreement or political positioning?
I'm not hearing you.
The PNP has been questioning the government's decision regarding the Cuban medical program. Given your experience within the party, do you think those concerns are driven by genuine policy disagreement or political positioning?
Political positioning. Political positioning. I mean, the truth is, if the PNP was in power, the same action that the GLP took, they would have to take it too. I mean, it's geopolitical politics.
Yes?
Yeah, it's geopolitical politics. We saw what happened to Jamaica when the PNP stood up to the USA. We saw food rationing. We saw tourists not coming here. We saw all that took place. I don't think any government in modern society, whether it be PNP or JLP, would now come out openly and say, a Jamaican government, hey, USA, we're not doing that. I think that it's a no-brainer.
Okay. Would you say then that that your own views about where we should go as a country has always aligned with the Jamaica Labour Party?
I'm not hearing you.
Would you say, Mr. Oates, that your views as far as Jamaica's development is concerned have always aligned with the Jamaica Labour Party?
What are you talking about? I was a PNP for the 50th year of my life. So what are you saying to me? If my views are aligned with the Jamaica Labour Party, I was a supporter of the PNP. So I don't understand where you're going with that question. You're asking me, somebody who was a hardcore supporter of the PNP for most adult life, if my views were always aligned with the Jamaica Labour Party?
Okay, then what I want to get is whether or not those views have evolved. Because you see, you become a little defensive when I try to link your past with your views of the present. So I'm a little bit, I don't understand.
Listen now, I don't come defensive. I don't see why me. I came here, I've exalted what I think the JLP is doing good. I've spoken about the Prime Minister, what he has been doing. And I've said to you that I am in total in sync and in agreement with what the Prime Minister is doing. If I am going to be here and I'm going to be, defending, I am out there fighting for the Jamaica Labour Party every single day. I don't fight for things that I don't believe in.
Okay, I do understand that, Mr. Oates, but historically, the PNP has been associated with a democratic socialist tradition of Michael Manley. You admitted that. While the JLP
I wasn't old enough to be part of that. I was a part of I was a part of the PNP when Manley came back to power in 1989. At that time, Manley traded his Kariba suit for a shirt and a tie and a jacket. So I wasn't a part of the democratic socialism part of it. I was a youngster that time. So I couldn't fill you in on that.
My moderator.
Hi, Craig. Good evening. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay. I think what neighbor is trying to ask you is that for a Jamaican who is so interested in the growth of Jamaica, is asking, is it a case where you have recognized that what you always wanted for Jamaica, you have recognized it in the Jamaica Labour Party, which is your reason for, joining the Jamaica Labour Party or supporting the Jamaica Labour Party?
If you were listening to the conversation, I have said that the PNP in the 70s and 80s, the roles have reversed. The JLP used to be viewed as a capitalist party. The PNP is now viewed as a capitalist party with Golden, Bunting, and that crew. And that Andrew Holness has used
Right,
his
but
political...
Craig, what I'm asking you is, it is evident that you love your country. It is evident that you want the best for your country. You are known to be a true Hanoverian. You have been very involved in Hanover in terms of looking out for the best interest of Hanover, right? So having said that, I'm just asking you, is it a case where you recognize that the PNP would never offer the things that you want to see happen in Jamaica, which is why you have now decided to join the Jamaica Labour Party?
Let's take
basically what you have just said is what I have expressed since coming on the program. I don't know if you want me to say it in a different format, but what you have been saying is exactly what is it that I've been saying.
Well, Craig, one of the things that I have heard is that, a lot of people will say that, once a comrade, always a comrade. And when we look at the history of Jamaica and how the PNP has been so horrible in terms of how they have run our country, sometimes for us to gain credibility, it is important that we are willing to prove to people that, yes, these are the reasons why I will not be supporting them, and these are the reasons why. And like I mentioned to you before, you are someone who has always been very active. So that's all I'm asking you. I'm not attacking you.
Let me just say something. I don't know about attacking, because I see a particular individual texting, and I believe that we as supporters of the JLP, sometimes we are our biggest enemies. And I came on here, with, what would I say it now? With an open mind. And it's like, it's a tug of war. For the persons who know me on here, that are here, know that my community come first. And that's for years. I have supported my community. I've done what is right or what is best by my community. I'm not a very weak-minded person. So if it is that I don't believe in something, I don't support it. And the fact that I'm out there supporting the Jamaica Labour Party 100%, that means that I'm in full agreement with what the party is doing. No, I think it is a little bit disingenuous for persons to say I'm being defensive. I think first, when I got on this interview, the questions that were asked before I could even answer, I didn't get 10 seconds. I was being cut. And I didn't like that. So for the persons who are saying that I'm coming off too strong, if I'm going to be on an interview, I would want the opportunity.
Craig, can you not pay attention to the messages? Because we have many different people with many different views and they will write. So please don't pay attention to the comment.
No. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't pay attention to views. What I'm talking about is the stage is set by the moderator. The stage is set by the moderator. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mr. Oates, with the greatest of respect, sir. My intro, I don't know you. I want my listeners to be introduced to you. You are a member of the People's National Party. You were at one time a candidate for the party. You spent many years within the party. And if you don't think, Mr. Oates, that is a subject any interviewer preparing for an interview with you should raise, then you have not done many interviews. Probably you have been on places that are talk shops. This is a place where we have conversations. I believe, sir, that any member of any party who is going to be a bona fide, credible person ought to be prepared to answer some questions about where you're coming from. And you are suggesting that those questions are irrelevant?
Can I ask a question?
No. Hold on. You are
Which
suggesting that those questions are irrelevant.
No. I'm not suggesting anything.
Can we move on, please?
I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
Which question have you asked that I have not answered?
You have asked, you have answered the question, Mr. Oates, but I'm saying to you, the interview was structured to take you from there to where you are now, to explore what it is that it's your ideological transition, because you could not be a part of a cultic organization. And now you're a part of an organization that is not cultic, and there was no transition. There has to be something that changed.
I'm going to ask you again. Which question have you asked that you need clarity for? Because I'm not seeing any question that have been asked of me that I have not answered. So if you have any other question, you can ask them. I have no problem in answering the question.
All right.
I was just thinking.
Let's move
out
on.
loud.
Let's move on, gentlemen. Let's move on. Chops?
Yeah, greetings, everybody. Greetings.
Yes.
Greetings, Caroline.
Hi. Is there
Craig, how you doing?
anything you would like to say to Craig?
I think the conversation is a very spirited one, and just to bring some perspective to the whole discussion, because I think what Neighbor is trying to get his listeners is the things that Craig have been saying. And I think what Neighbor is trying to do is to put it in context so persons can understand it from a different angle. Craig is saying that he appreciate the work of the Jamaica Labour Party to the extent that he no longer supports the PNP in its current form. He would have highlighted a lot of things that the JLP would have done, and I'm speaking now based on the conversation here. I don't even think it's necessary for me to go into my private conversations with Craig and knowing him and knowing his transition. I would allow him to speak to that, but I will speak to what transpired or what is transpiring here now. Neighbor is trying to, and I think Neighbor is doing an excellent job in trying to bring into context how persons like Craig Oates, who have been a part of the PNP for decades, and what could have really caused them
Yeah,
to know.
for example, Chops, if I am part of a cultic organization, then I am cultured a particular way. I don't just get
Yeah.
up one day and become not a cult. As a matter of fact, I could very well be a cult now and not realize it, because cultism is embedded in your DNA. Okay? No, that is a fair question. Now, if you are going to really be a genuine proponent of the Jamaica Labour Party's policies, programs, and mission, I think that we should understand, how did you get out of that? First of all, to be a convert in a different organ. When people come to church, and say they were Adventists, we don't just take them up and give them membership, we have to explore, where did the change start? Why did you decide to change? So that you can now be huh?
Yes. We'll gather way around too. And
yes.
I'm saying
there's nothing that we are trying to do more than to explore for my friend. Just how we transition from that, and then I would have been very happy to go to where we are today. And that's how I had structured the interview, Mr. Oates, just to take you from the history, take you to where you are now, so that you could go on and talk about the Jamaica Labour Party. I'm sorry that you misinterpreted the strategy.
I think the misinterpretation, though, neighbor, is because Craig would have expressed himself, and I'm not saying what he can't say for himself, but I think what he is saying, what I pick up from the conversation, is that he thinks that, look, based on what I have said, based on the fact that I have said repeatedly that I have every confidence in the Jamaica Labour Party, in Andrew Holness and the leadership, and what they have done, and my Cornwallian Deputy Prime Minister, and the things I see happening in Montego Bay, and the country in general, and the things I've seen in my Hanover, that to me has given me enough reason to support the Jamaica Labour Party. I think him saying that is sort of saying, well, I have said everything in defense of the JLP, so there would have been no need to question. But I don't think it's a matter of questioning. I think it's a matter of leading a conversation. And I think that's where Craig might have misinterpreted the line of argument. It's not a line of argument to question the credibility or anything, Craig. It's really to just carry the conversation in direction so persons can understand the transition. I know the backstory, and I think neighbor very much know the backstory as well. But as a journalist, as somebody who is in social media, has a responsibility to bring the argument into context. I don't know if I'm right here, neighbor.
And not only that, Chops, a lot of people have heard a lot about Craig Oates, and I think it's an opportunity for many of us to get to know him.
And the guys are brilliant. Let me tell you something, neighbor, and he might not want to say it for himself. This is one of the persons I know who has moved from the PNP to JLP. There are several persons who have crossed the floor and joined the Jamaica Labour Party. And I can tell you that Craig is one of those persons who I know did not join the JLP by accident. It's a deliberate move, and it's a move that came genuinely. Because anybody who knows Craig Oates know that he speaks for Hanover, not just East, but both sides. And he always championed the cause for Hanover. So crossing over to the JLP was a no-brainer for him, because he would have seen the direction in which the country is going. You hear him talk about what is happening in Montego Bay. And he's always mirroring and saying, look, we want the same development for Hanover. And I'm not going to stop the progress according to him in conversation that we have had. So I know where this guy heart is as it relates to Hanover and the politics of Jamaica. And I know where neighbor is leading the conversation. So I will step back and allow neighbor and his team to continue the dialogue. I will continue to listen and participate. Craig, big up yourself as always, man. Enough respect.
Yeah, Chopper, bring up yourself. Quite honestly, I am really I'm a bit disappointed with the way this conversation has gone, because I don't even know how it has reached this level. I just want to say before I leave, for the record, I am a supporter of the Jamaica Labour Party. We have been working very hard, especially in Hanover, to help to reorganize, to go back out there, to rebuild the party. So at the end of the day, as I said, you have asked me some questions and I've answered. I don't know none that I have answered.
Yeah, let me try again, sir. Let me try again. The Jamaica Labour Party lost both seats in Hanover at the last election. You were integrally involved in the Jamaica Labour Party's campaign there in Hanover. How would you?
Can I stop you right there? Can I stop you right there? I think you probably need to get your facts together.
Oh, you were not
on the line. Just allow me, please. You said that I was integrally involved. I started the election was September. I started campaigning for the Jamaica Labour Party in July.
What was the question I was going to ask you, Mr. Holtz?
The question that you probably were going to ask me is, I was integral in the Jamaica Labour Party election run-up to the 2025 election. And I'm just trying to give you some context that I did not started out campaigning until July. That was not even 8 weeks into the campaign. I gave it my everything, but I don't know if me as an individual could change whatever the electoral prospects were between July and September. I don't know.
Okay, that was not the question I was going to ask you, Mr. Craig, but Mr. Oz, but that is fine. Can I ask you this then? Do you think that your involvement now, going forward, is integral in the party future prospect there in a positive way? I guess what I'm asking is, can the Labour Party regain those 2 seats?
If you really look at the results of the last election, there are 7 divisions in Hanover. Chester Castle in the east, Hopewell in the west, Sandy Bay, Chester Castle, Sandy Bay and Hopewell in the east. Lucy, Cardwell, Green Island, and Riverside in the west. The Jamaica Labour Party won 4 divisions out of the 7 in the last election. They won Chester Castle, they won Hopewell, they won Lucy, and they won Riverside. So had it been a local election, the Jamaica Labour Party would have controlled the council. They would have won 4 council seats out of 3. So what happened is that the Labourites did not vote in their strongest divisions. They didn't vote in Hopewell and they didn't vote in Chester Castle. There are many reasons for that. I'm not going to get into that. The same thing in Western Hanover. Riverside and Lucy is their strongest divisions. The Labourites did not come out and vote.
Yes.
In the Eastern Hanover, the Sandy Bay division was the division that won the constituency for the PNP.
Yes.
And that division came out heavily unvoted. In Western Hanover, the Green Island division is the strongest division. They came out and vote. And if you look at the numbers, even in Eastern Hanover, the winning candidate, Miss Perkins, she got 5,900 votes. That would not have won an election 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because the Jamaica Labour Party supporters did not come out and vote. So the question is, why didn't the Labour Party supporters come out and vote? So in order for you to do a postmortem or an assessment as to your electoral prospects going forward, you have to look at the numbers. And I'm saying to you that the situation might have looked dismal, because you have to remember too, that before that, when persons like myself was not in the Jamaica Labour Party. The Jamaica Labour Party lost 7 parish council seats in the parish. All 7. And the trend continue over into the general. So what needs to happen is that a postmortem is done, the numbers look at, because the votes are there for the JLP, both in East and West, especially in East. It is what you're going to use the data now to correlate and get to work and do. It's not a, it's not a rocket scientist. In Eastern Hanover, the JLP won Upper Division by 300 votes.
Yes.
They won Chesapeake Division by 500 votes. But probably lose Sandy Bay Division by 1,000 votes. But when you look at the numbers, Hopewell Division have the most votes. They have almost 11,000 votes, 10,000 something. And that is a bastion of JLP support. So it's a numbers game. And that's why I was saying to you that I got involved in the politics in July for the JLP. The election was September. And if you want to put it into context, the Jamaica Labour Party had lost 7 local government seats already. So you were going up against a People's National Party, buoyed by their local election success, and tailing at them back, propaganda machine, money around. So, I mean, you now have to look at why the JLP lost the local election, all 7 divisions. But when you look at the numbers again in the local, probably it was because of the Prime Minister Andrew Holness. There's a certain amount of political capital that he has. And they won, the JLP won 4 out of 7 in the central government election.
Mr. Oz, I don't have a lot of time, and there are 3 questions I want to ask you. I hope you're fine with them. One, what ultimately led you to make the decision to join the Jamaica Labour Party?
I think I answered that already. I'll go answer it again. I grew up supporting the PNP. Born in a PNP yard, grew up and support the PNP. Over a period of time, my outlook as to what the PNP represented back in the 70s, 80s, free education, free healthcare, that cause, among other stuff, was now being championed by the JLP.
Fine.
The roles were reversed. So the JLP, led by Andrew Holness, looked as the party that I supported as a young man. And the PNP, led by a capitalist leader, was looking like the JLP that I grew up seeing in the 80s. So for me, it was a very easy. As a matter of fact, when I stepped away from the PNP, I was not involved in politics, I continued to do my community activism, sponsoring sports competition, helping needy people, giving back to school, spending my time with young people, counseling them. It is a few labor rights that came and said, hey, listen, this is what needs. We need people like you to come and whatever. And I got in at the last moment and I don't regret getting in. I think one of the problems that the GLP have is a PR problem. Because
they have a what type of problem? Hold on. They have a what type of problem, sir?
In a Hanover, may I talk? Hanover.
Yeah, what is the problem you say they have in Hanover?
A PR problem.
PR.
That work, public relations.
Oh, I see.
Work was being done, but the work was not being highlighted to reach the persons who you need them vote.
Like what? What type of work was being done?
I mean, you have like in a Eastern Hanover, you have like infrastructural work, like you have from the Haddington to Cocoon Castle Road, like about 5-6 miles of road was being built or was built. If you look back at the last 3 members of parliament for Eastern Hanover, Dave Brown, before him, D.K. Duncan, And if you go compare apples with apples with between Dave Brown and DK Duncan, Dave Brown, apart from Francis Toller, because in Eastern Hanover there's only 2 members of parliament has ever got more than 7,000 votes. Francis Toller in 1980, Basil Buck in 1980, and Francis Toller in 1993. No matter the hype in Hanover, you always have less than that. But you have some infrastructural program where, like in a Sandy Bay division, there's a Restoration and Justice Center that was built under the leadership of Dave Brown.
Yes,
it's
sir.
almost completed now.
But,
and that was the first government building that has ever been built in the community since my birth. And
yeah.
I mean, it's gonna serve a very good purpose. And that was one of Dave Brown's legacy.
Yes.
Was it properly highlighted in terms of public relations? No. When you look at Hopewell did not have a police station, and under Dave Brown leadership for the constituency, Jamaica get the first smart police station in Hopewell, Hanover. I mean, I don't think that those stuff was part and parcel of the packaging for the electoral campaign. When you look at one of the worst road in Eastern Hanover, Hopewell to Cocoon Castle, that road was fixed from Hopewell to Cocoon Castle. So I'm just saying.
I'm running out of time, Mr. Oates.
In terms of
yeah. Mr. Oates, you have 2 perspectives, okay? You and not many people in Jamaica have a perspective like you.
I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you.
You come to the table, Mr. Oates, with 2 perspectives right now. If you should speak to the Jamaican people as you go, sir, and say something to them about how they should embrace their future, having been in the People's National Party and now a member of the Jamaica. By the way, are you a member of the party, sir?
Hello?
Yes.
I'm not hearing you.
Sorry. Okay. Are you hearing me now?
Are you hearing me?
Very loud and clear.
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
Yeah, I want you to speak to the Jamaican people as you go, Mr. Oates, about how they should think about their political future under the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party. You say to me that you are fully on board with the Jamaica Labour Party. I am assuming, therefore, that it would be you would prefer to see this party continue in government. Am I correct?
I don't think you should even. I mean, that goes without saying, sir.
It's a rhetorical question.
How would I speak to the Jamaican people? I would say to the Jamaican people that you have the best leader at the wheels, and you can just use the last hurricane that passed to judge. Jamaica was hit by a Cat 5 hurricane.
Yes.
And probably within 4 or 5 days, the 2 airports were open for cargo. And probably within a week, we were inviting persons back. Within 3 months, we were basically more than 80% of persons getting back basic utilities, water and light. Plans have been in place for displaced persons who just the way that the government has gone about implementing the hurricane relief supplies. And you cannot hear any level of persons saying that the distribution of the hurricane relief supplies has been partial. As a matter of fact, I would say that probably more constituencies represented by People's National Party representatives have been, getting a lot more. But when you even think of it, in the run-up to the hurricane, the government made available funds, $2 million well, to get all the constituencies up and running, both PNP and JLP. But you also look at the insurance policy that the government had taken out for the country. And you can say that is vision, that is foresight, that is really looking around the corner. And be it remembered that when that was done by Nigel Clark, the then former Minister of Finance, it was the PNP who, against better judgment, was against it. So, I mean, with all of what I have said to you, beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt, the ruling party really is or has shown themselves to be thinking ahead in terms of long-term planning, and you can look on the projects them that they have been doing, but also in terms of our security, they have been best in terms of reducing crime and in creating a more safer atmosphere for us. You know, so that's my 2 cents on that.
Fantastic. Maybe 5. Mr. Oates, finally, when Jamaicans hear the name Craig Oates, what do you hope they associate with in terms of leadership? When people hear the name Craig Oates, sir, what do you hope they...
You're chipping out.
Moderator, I'm not so sure what's happening. I'm hearing him.
But do I what?
Yeah. Are you hearing me, sir?
So what do I do? What? I'm not hearing.
When Jamaicans hear the name Craig Oates, what
I'm hearing you now.
When Jamaicans hear the name Craig Oates, what do you hope they associate with in terms of leadership and public service? You.
My name should not be a catalyst for anyone to form an opinion. The most I would expect people to do is that when you hear Craig Oates, you think about Hanoverians or communities. We want road and we want water and we want light and we want to enjoy the things that other parishes and other communities. I don't do personal politics. It should not be about me. It should not be about what I stand for. It should be supporting what is right for our community and our youths. Yeah, man.
Well, sir, fantastic. I think that I hope that my listeners got a little better understanding of who Mr. Oates is. I hope, sir, that you will come back one of these days, and all the best in your political pursuit as you continue to pursue your dreams and continue to help the Jamaica Labour Party to continue governing. Hope you all the best, sir.
Bless you.
By the way, oh, he's gone. You know, listeners, and for those persons out there, if you are going to come on this program, I'm going to ask you, spend a few days and listen to the program. You hear? Don't just come up. Just listen to just as how we prepare for you, you should prepare for us. Just listen to us, our style, our patterns, and how we conduct ourselves here. All right, Mr. Everybody. Just thank you, Mr. Oates. Well done, sir. Well done. Very good. You're going to be in public service. We don't bowl softballs here, you know. We're not laying no wicket for any. No, I don't think so. we conduct ourselves here. And I think that is just fair game. Anyway, Harry, how are you doing, sir?
Doing good in a neighbor. Good night, everybody.
Doing all right?
Yeah.
Yes. So Harry, boy, I tell you, tomorrow is budget day, big day for budget. The finance minister will open the budget debate tomorrow. We look forward to that. You're looking forward to that. I'm sure that you are dusting off your notepad to take your notes.
On the go, neighbor. Definitely on the go with it.
Yes.
Because I'm looking at some specific key areas.
Yes.
Especially with I've also been watching. Yeah, I'd say the elephant in the room. That issue between the East and the West. You don't have to really call that country. And studying the impact. I know everybody is looking at oil as the major one, but
yes,
based on the studies I've done and been digging even further, I realized that region, the Strait of Hormuz, actually holds 33% of the world's LNG. It also holds 30% of the world's ammonia. And people may wonder why I'm pointing out ammonia and LNG. Specifically, ammonia will impact our food production.
Yes.
Now, it sounds far-fetched, but here's it. It also has urea. Ammonia and urea actually helps to produce fertilizers. Now, for fertilizers, our farmers do need it. It is this time of the year that the largest producers of food globally purchases fertilizers. And with the Strait of Hormuz, it's not physically closed. I can tell you that. It's not physically closed. It is what we call the insurance premium going up on tankers as to why we don't see any real movements happening in that area.
Yes.
So with the price of, the products needed to create fertilizer going up now, and farmers purchasing at a higher price now, what we'll see is coming ending of summer, September, October period, when harvest is coming in, is that we're going to magically see an increase in food prices, and nobody will tell us or give us a valid reason as to why food prices would have gone up. Because it would have come back to this very moment of the actions that are happening. And I'm keeping a very close eye on it to see how the minister not just factors the whole oil situation in the midst, but these other factors that will go hidden, especially with our agriculture sector that would have gotten hit after Melissa,
yes,
to see how we pivot. So I'm looking keenly on those things. So not just the taxes, because I like to look for the hidden things that may impact us. And of course, if the government is listening, and even the opposition, they may don't take the information lightly, but to also dig, because it's a way to point them in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on there for me, Harry. Let me go to Chops for me, maybe 10 or so 50 minutes. Chops, good evening to you, sir.
Blessings, neighbor. Good evening to you. Good evening, Harry. Good evening, everybody.
Fantastic. I want to take you back a little to the Cuban medical doctor, Chops, to properly understand the current debate. How important it is to revisit the ideological posture Jamaica took in 1970s under Michael Manley and his relationship with Fidel Castro. How important?
Very, very important, neighbor. History must always be our guide. And if there's ever a time in Jamaica's history that we ought to look at what we did in the past to make sure that we don't make the same mistake now or in the future, it is now. Jamaica, and I would have said this on your program before, Jamaica has now found themselves in a similar position that we were in back in the 1970s. And the good thing is that we have the playbook of what took place then, so we can use that to guide our decisions now. I think Andrew Holness is well placed. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is well placed, and they have the data to guide the decisions that ought to be made. The Cuban medical mission, which have always been sold to everybody as being a humanitarian gesture. A matter of fact, if you were to interview a lot of Jamaicans today, neighbor, they would be of the view that these Cuban doctors were here on charity mission. I think a lot of Jamaicans were of that view. And most people would not have known that this was actually a program developed by Cuba strategically to benefit the regime.
Uh-huh.
I think what you have done this evening was you lift the veil and presented it to the Jamaican people in a way that it might not have been presented in the past.
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of us knew that there were something amiss with the program, but the level of details that is coming out now, a matter of fact, when Marco Rubio came to Jamaica a few months ago and he addressed the situation of the Cuban medical mission, I was of the view that we were above board and we were not a part of what he had highlighted. I thought this only existed in other Caribbean countries such as St. Kitts and Nevis and other islands who would have had that sort of arrangement in place,
Yeah.
where the salaries were paid to the Cuban authorities.
Yeah.
Didn't know
The Bible said,
that-
Chops, that all things work together for good. So here is the
Yes.
situation, which is now unveiling exactly what this thing is about. Let me take you to Parliament though, because the PNP would know Dr. Dawes is not a fool. I mean, whatever you think of him, he's a man that understands these issues. As part of the People's National Party shadow cabinet, they would have discussed it too. Why, therefore, are they giving the impression that somehow the government is making a strategic blunder, or is surrendering Jamaica's sovereignty to the US?
Because that tells you exactly how they would have played their card.
But
if
I don't
they
even think so.
were-
Chops Mead. I think facing the same situation in this global environment, I don't think the PNP would have acted any differently.
I couldn't agree. I cannot agree with you on that, neighbor, because history is on my side.
Uh-huh.
History is on my side. They have had that situation presented itself to them before, and we can go back to the archives and look at how they handled it. They stuck the middle finger to the United States, and they carry on with business as usual, cost us our entire economy, and put us back 35, 40 years. That is history. We cannot deny that. There's no erasing that. That is there. They have said in their campaign that if they are given an opportunity to lead this country, they would not carry out the policies that the Jamaica Labour Party would have implemented, and that includes our foreign policy. They have never shied away from being hands and gloves with Cuba. This is no secret. The PNP leader who ruled this country during the 1970s had vowed at the time to follow Fidel Castro to the mountaintop. The PNP today have not disassociated themselves from those rhetoric of the past. They have not. And until they can do that, I have no confidence that they will handle any foreign policy or any situation different from the PNP of the past.
Well, that is very, very sad. No, Chops. There are persons in Jamaica raising comparisons between the Cuban medical program and the seasonal farm work program that send Jamaican workers abroad. From a policy standpoint, how valid is that comparison?
Totally different policies.
Uh-huh.
The farmer program.
I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to be accused of doing that. But let me Do you not find, Mr. Chops, that the comrades tend to be dishonest in their reasoning?
But that's the most dishonest statement you could have ever made, because it is chalk to cheese. When you look at them, the program that exists, and you can bring on any Jamaican. I can give you the names of quite a few Jamaicans who I know who we have sent on foreign programs,
Yes.
and for you to have a conversation with them, and they will tell you without a shadow of a doubt what the arrangements are and if there's any similarity with the Cuban program. I can give you the names of quite a few persons, and you can have the conversation with them and let them tell you their story, because I know that there's only a single element of the farm work program that have some semblance. And there's a segment in there where I think there's a percentage of their salary that is sent back to Jamaica for savings
Yes.
that they have access to when they get back to Jamaica. It might be about 25% or somewhere there, about, not so sure, but or 15% that is deducted from their salary, sent back to Jamaica in their account. So that means they are sure that when they get back to Jamaica, that money is here, and whatever they make there, the bulk of it, it's utilized however they want to. But it's a program that was designed to make sure that at the end of the program, you at least have some money in the back here. And that part of it exists. But as it relates to making a comparison with what exists in Cuba, where your passport is taken away from you and the salaries are paid to the Cuban government, who give you just a minuscule percentage of it, absolutely not. That does not exist in our farmer program.
Then how these comrades, sir, these bloggers, start raising this in the minds of Jamaican people, sir? What's wrong with these people, man?
Neighbor, that's how comrades are. And it is unfortunate that even at this stage, where, for example, this particular program, neighbor, with the Cuban doctors, right? And our posture with Cuba, we've seen in the past what this did to us, right? We have seen how Cuba has developed. And when I say develop, you know what I mean, right? We've seen the stagnation in Cuba, let's put it that way. And we would still today be holding on to Cuba and pretending as though what is happening in Cuba, it is as a result of the sanctions against them and other countries doing it to them and not them doing it to themselves. Why is it that the same thing happening in Jamaica, not happening in Cuba? Why is it that we are not under sanctions from the United States and other countries? Why is it that we are able to develop our economy, grow our people, pull them out of poverty, but yet Cuba just can't get it together? Is it that they are wedded to a political dogma to the extent and to the detriment of their people? Is it something that we would want for our own country? Or is it that we're just talking simply because we are ideologically driven? I don't know, neighbor. You probably can.
Well, it's fascinating, and I believe that the Jamaican people eyes are being opened. Am I not correct, Chops Media, that small states like Jamaica can't pursue their foreign policy independent or on ideological lines, that we have to be pragmatic, Chops Media, and if we have a decision to make, it ought to be that we will remain aligned to the United States. That is something that people don't want to say, but isn't that the reality?
But the truth is, the United States is our greatest ally in the Western region. It is our largest trading partner. So what do one expect? Should we put aside the reality of how we exist just to pursue some ideological nonsense that exists, or to create some false narrative in our minds that we stand with the people of Cuba, we stand with the regime, but we're not seeing what the regime is doing to the people?
Yes.
Are we blind? I mean, come on. Come on. This really don't make any sense. I think I think the long and the short of it is, neighbor, I think the Jamaican government, led by the most honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, Kamina Johnson Smith and others, they are handling this situation perfect.
Yeah.
My only issue is that it should have ended long ago. I was a little bit taken aback because I wasn't sure when the Secretary of State came here, why the impression I got is that we were in the clear, just to now find out that we were not in the clear. Because I thought, I mean, the Secretary of State said it, that we were in the clear. He literally said those words, that we were not a problem. And he pointed to other Caribbean islands that had the issue.
Yeah. Are we alone in this regard, Chops? I don't know if you have any information on that. How are other Caribbean countries navigating the same issue of Cuba medical missions and U.S. scrutiny? Are there other Caribbean islands in the same?
Certainly. Barbados is in the same position. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is in the same position, and there might be other countries as well. The issue is, under Ralph Gonzalez, they would have taken the same position as Barbados in saying that they will give up their passport, or these are people who are ideologically driven.
Absolutely.
So they don't care about what the rest of the country feels, as long as they fulfill their mandate, or fulfill their ego.
Yeah. Do you think that the Jamaican state would find support in Jamaica for an anti-position?
Absolutely not.
They would not.
Absolutely not. I tell you what, and I will wager a bet, because even the very People's National Party executives would perhaps have to rethink their position. And I know they are ideologically driven, but I think there are elements within the party today who would not want to go down that road, because they know Michael Manley apologized, neighbor.
Yes.
He apologized for that position that he took in the 1970s that led to the devastation of the Jamaican economy and the isolation that we face. He apologized. So if he, as a leader of the party, realized that he made a blunder back then, why is it that the current crop of PNP don't see it fit to denounce that argument about solidarity with Cuba? And when I say solidarity with Cuba, nobody here is having any issue with the Cuban people.
Absolutely. Or the Cuban doctors themselves.
Exactly. Nor the Cuban doctors themselves. I think these guys are excellent. I've seen them in action. These are great humanitarians. However, they're exploited by the regime. They're exploited by the regime, who continue to create a single industry in Cuba, which is the medical field and some in teaching as well. And do it not just simply for it to make Cuba the healthiest country on earth, because that's not the objective
of them training all these doctors. Is so that they can make money.
It is for export. It's for export. I've never seen this before.
Never seen it before, and I think America is correct to say it's wrong, sir. Did you know, sir, that the amount of money that the Cuban government make off this, $998.4 billion United States dollars in 1 year, sir?
Well, I checked it today. I checked it this afternoon, and I was shocked. I was shocked because I knew that the Cubans had this arrangement with some other countries. Never knew they had it with Jamaica. But I didn't know that this was the sort of money that they were raking in.
And sir, for Venezuela, is oil they get,
Yes.
Oil?
Yes.
Yeah. Oil.
Yes.
They're doing it, and they get oil for that, sir.
And there are other countries in the world.
Isn't there a bit of mistrust, though? I think cultivated over that 18 and a half years, where the Jamaican people don't trust their state. And I think a little bit of it I see here, where the people need to trust the decision of the government. You understand what I'm saying to you? Where they don't go questioning government's decisions. Yes, it's a democracy, but we have to trust our government too, and especially a government that has been as transparent as this, that continues to make decisions in the interest of the Jamaican people, Chops Media.
You know, trust is a very powerful word there, neighbor. I listened to the Iranian foreign minister this afternoon in an interview, and the interviewer asked him if he supports the appointment of the new Ayatollah, which is the son of the farmer, right? And he said there's a council that the people select, meaning the population elect a council, and the council selects the Ayatollah. And he was asked a question a second time, and he repeated the exact same thing. And what he's basically saying, that when the people speak, when the people elect a group, the decision taken by that group is trusted and respected.
Yes.
And I'm putting that in the context of the Jamaica government.
Yes, sir.
When the people go to the polls,
yes,
and they select a government, it means that the majority of Jamaicans have confidence.
In other words, you have employed a manager over your industry.
Absolutely. You don't need to manage it. And you trust them to the extent that they must make decisions that are in your best interest.
And if they don't, sir, in 5 years' time, you can dismiss them.
Absolutely. And the fact that they have continued since 2016.
That's true.
To elect this government, it means, therefore, that they have been making these decisions in the best interest of the Jamaican people, and the Jamaican people have rewarded them three times in a row.
I see where Julian Robinson said he's going to be speaking on Thursday about fixing the now. What is it that they're going to fix?
Well, as I said in the past, neighbor, for you to fix a problem, if you know anybody who is on drugs, and you might have heard this analogy before. I like to use analogies, because they're real.
Yes.
For anybody who is on drugs to be treated, one of the first things that must happen is that individual must accept that he or she is on drugs.
Yes.
For Julian Robinson or any member of the PNP to fix anything, they must accept. Must. Yeah. No, if ands are but about it.
Yeah.
They must accept and come to the Jamaican people and apologize for what they have done in the past.
Yeah, I think anyone who is advising the party, sir, needs a lesson in PR, because I don't see how a party like that could be claiming after September 3rd, a third straight election defeat, after you come with time to now be coming to say you're coming to fix the now.
How can you fix the no without accepting the past? No, we are here now because of what?
Yeah.
We should have been, listen, we must give credit to the current administration. They have taken us a long way. But the truth is, neighbor, we should have been 10 step, 30 years ahead of where we are today.
Absolutely. And Mr. Chops Media, Jamaica today is still paying for the ideological exploits of the 70s,
But that's true to form. That's exactly what we're talking about now.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
The Cuban medical mission crisis or scandal or whatever you want to call it that exists today lays squarely at the feet of the People's National Party. A matter of fact, that arrangement started with them.
Yes, sir. But I heard Mr. Siaga saying that sir, you don't recover an economy that was devastated like that in 3 or 4 decades, And when you think about what the PNP came to do back again in the 1990s, it was actually worse than the 70s, You understand?
Then
we're still paying that debt, sir.
But Dr. Dr. Nigel Clark the other day told us in his last presentation that we have just now finally paid, well, we just gotten back to pre 1990s economic collapse. In other words,
Oh,
we were suffering about 34 or 35 years,
uh-huh.
and we just got over that bump just in the last, I think it was in 2024.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in the night. That's what the 1990s brought on to us. And I don't know if we will ever get over the 1970s, because these are not time wasted, can never regain, neighbor.
You better know that.
So
You better know that.
we are 30, 40 years behind.
Yeah. You know, I tell my students sometimes that there is nothing called yesterday, sir. It's always today. yesterday is never it's always, you always have today, sir. Today. Okay? And so the time you waste today, you don't get it back.
What
Don't
are
get
they
it
going
back
to
at all.
fix? What is the PNP going to fix, neighbor?
Huh?
What is he going to fix? He's going to fix the no. What is he going to fix?
Well, I wish I was writing the Prime Minister's speech. Because I tell you something, so Parliament would be on fire when he speaks next week Thursday. And I know he's good. He has good speech writers. But take care of yourself.
All the best to you, man.
All right, great.
Take care, Harry. All the best.
Great job.
Boy, Harry.
Neighbor.
Harry, we had started talking about the finance minister tomorrow. What are your expectations, sir, as you look towards the finance minister's presentation tomorrow? What are your expectations?
Well, neighbor, for one,
And I'm sorry, I do have this terrible interviewing skill, a style of cutting it. But sometimes my head is just full up of so many questions, because I want you in constructing your answer to frame it in the context of the hurricane, because sometimes I think we forget, Harry, that 50% of our GDP has been lost, and therefore we need to understand the context here. Eh?
of course, neighbor. It is one in which for the Minister of Finance, I said it before, I don't envy her. I wouldn't want her job right now.
Yes.
In fact, I wouldn't even want it 5 years from now. Because the thing about it, neighbor, it is now we're caught in a place initially when the hurricane happened.
Yes.
Between recovering, relief, then recover, while simultaneously trying to maintain our growth, firstly, before we then push for growth.
Yes.
And people will say, well, that is just 0.8 or 0.9% over a period. It is still growth.
Yes.
It is not negative growth as we've known, right? Now, the reality as to what we're now facing is no longer relief. The relief has been pushed aside because we're past that stage successfully. But we have to know, in terms of the minister, have to now be looking at handling the recovery fully.
Yes.
In stages, how she will look to, handle this budget going forward with the demand from many different ministries with their own budget, right? She have to be looking at all of that, plus keeping an eye out on geopolitical affairs, both regionally and globally. Now, neighbor,
as a matter of fact, Harry, oil shot up over $100 today. Came
up
back
to 120.
120 came back down when the president said the war will be over soon, but went back up because the Pentagon put out a tweet saying that they weren't finished. It's a bit of a mess, Harry.
It is, neighbor. Well, in fact, Qatar has said, listen, it might come to $150 a barrel. So that is the real number to watch, right? And to be juggling now, like we're on the stage of handling Jamaica affairs. It's more than juggling just 2 to 3 bars. It is now an overload matched with a delicate dance because you have to be maneuvering with the finances, right? Because you have to now look at how the geopolitical issues are going to affect you, which means you bank on your foreign minister to try and get you that information as early as possible.
Yes, sir.
Right? You then now look at your energy minister as to how we may pivot, because I want people to understand Jamaica don't stack up on oil.
Right.
I believe we only, based on the report I saw from the Petrojam CEO at the time when we had Melissa, we really keep roughly about 2 weeks worth of petroleum in Jamaica, and that is how we buy.
Yes.
So we have to now look at all of those things, and I keep saying we, but I'm speaking the minister of finance. She have to now look at how to juggle that, how to ensure that it is sustainable for one, while continuing the Melissa recovery in the tranches or stages, how we now accept the debt from the packages that is coming in, and how to stimulate and ensure this money is directed in not just direct investment, but a flow that the people of Jamaica are, one, not burdened, not just the most vulnerable, right? Speaking every Jamaican, doesn't matter what class you may fall in, ensure that they are not burdened, that the minister relieve them of some of the responsibilities that are going to come with these issues, and all the while trying to maximize the direct investments from the 6.7 billion package that we will be taking over 2 to 3 years, right? That is something, neighbor, that is not easy to maneuver and to move, because what is happening is that each piece that you put in place previously may need to be taken up back. So you have to always be moving pieces around to not just keep present and to keep on the ball to continue the growth trajectory. But you also have to ensure that these pieces still maintains the sustainability that you need for the future growth. It also ensures that you have to maintain that it adds value, which is key. So this budget read that people will be seeing isn't about how Jamaica is just going to, go on for the next year. It is more than that. It is what will happen over the next 4 financial year. And everything we do now have to be linked with anything we're going to do in the future. So you have to lay the block now for the foundation the correct way. It doesn't matter how people feel. It doesn't matter what they think. You have to crunch the numbers, because the numbers won't lie to you. You then also have to make meaning of these numbers. And then you strategically move the bits and pieces into place in order to move along for the better Jamaica, to maneuver not just the worst catastrophe in 174 years in terms of a natural disaster that we've had, right? But no, to ensure that the common man benefits and doesn't suffer from everything that he doesn't understand. Because this isn't really and truly one where ignorance is bliss. You better get it right, and you only have one shot. I can tell you that it is only one shot the minister has to get this right, especially with an opposition like this, neighbor. They're going to be on the back of her, not just if a number miss or anything along the line, but every single policy, every single dollar, every single cent has to be accounted for. 1, 2, every project that she's looking to finance, it doesn't matter which ministry, has to add that value, because they're going to be on her back again. And 3, she has to, for the first time, deliver this budget speech with conviction. She has to own it beyond any other time. I don't think there has been a greater time that you call upon the minister to deliver in such a way where you don't care how anybody think or how anybody feel. You have to ensure that Tom, John Brown, Miss Mavis upper back can understand what you're saying. This is not an eloquent speech. This is one when you put the numbers to the people of Jamaica, You make sense of it for them. You don't let them try and make sense of it that easily, because you don't have a second chance at this. It is a very difficult position to be in. Again, I don't envy the position of this minister neighbor, and it doesn't matter who the minister would have been.
Yes.
It is one of the worst position you can ever be in a small developing state that have to be juggling the mistakes of the past, the disaster that we're going through. You have to manage it with the financial and fiscal responsibilities while never taking your eye off the ball of the future and future generations.
Fantastic. Hold on there for me, Harry. Scratchy?
Night, neighbor. Night, everyone on the platform. Harry, Caroline. Sheffield.
Bless you. I sent you a message, man. You not hear from you.
Oh, I didn't. I know. Sometimes I don't look at the WhatsApp, you know.
Yeah. Scratchy, as we look towards tomorrow, you are a great political mind. Scratchy, don't you think that the people of Jamaica at this time in our history, this day of our life, should be confident that not only the Prime Minister but the cabinet is, I would argue, are on top of the challenge and are providing the type of leadership that does not exist on the other side. In light of Hurricane Melissa, the geopolitical landscape we are in, Harry, Scratchy, you see what is happening in Cuba, you see what is happening in Iran. Right now, Scratchy, Jamaica is blessed to have this administration in place.
I mean, definitely, neighbor. Jamaica Labour Party neighbor has always been an administration neighbor whenever they're in government neighbor that always seek to put the best interests of the citizens of Jamaica first, neighbor, instead of the interests of the political organization. Unlike the opposition, neighbor, I can definitely tell you that if the opposition was in power, neighbor, it would have greater impact on us, neighbor. They wouldn't manage Hurricane Melissa in the way that this Jamaica Labour Party has managed it. And the Cuban saga, neighbor, I know, neighbor, because of the close ties that this political organization have with the Cuban regime, neighbor, they would have definitely said something, neighbor, and kind of put us in a particular spot in regards to the whole Cuba thing. When you look at Venezuela as well, neighbor, this is the next regime again that the People's National Party have close ties with. They would have definitely again kind of put us in some kind of problem with these two organizations. So definitely, neighbor, I am happy to know that, neighbor, the People's National Party is definitely not in power, neighbor, because I can tell you would have been definitely in hot water, neighbor, because of the loyalty that this political organization hold with these two regimes. And we must have to definitely have to thank God, neighbor, for Andrew Michael Lowness, his leadership style, his leadership quality, neighbor. He's a leader who doesn't try to get to intervene, neighbor, or pick any side when it comes to the geopolitics of what is going on in the world. We're a small developing state. We don't have much say when it comes to certain things, you know. We live in the western part of the hemisphere, neighbor. We all know the strength and the power that the United States hold. We don't want to believe it or not, neighbor. Not just in this side of the island of the world, neighbor, but and the world at large. You know, America is the great number one economy in the world, neighbor. And they also have the number one military in the world. So from a military standpoint, they're very strong. From an economic standpoint, neighbor, they are very strong. And they tend to use, they're not afraid, neighbor, to wield that power, neighbor.
Yes, and who wouldn't?
Economic power. And small developing states like Jamaica, neighbor, can definitely suffer as a result of that, neighbor, because it doesn't take anything, neighbor. One little mishaps, neighbor, and the US can put sanctions on us. We know Jamaicans love their visa. The first thing that they like to go towards, neighbor, is the cancellation of visa. We saw that in 2010, and we know that they can definitely do it again, neighbor. So I think I like the approach of the Prime Minister, neighbor. Just continue to watch what is going on, continue to stay neutral, and just continue to just kind of manage our affairs from a local standpoint, you know. You see what is going on right now, when you talk about the gas prices, that is oil price that is going on. I am not too, yes, it is at $100 right now, 100. It's not the first time that oil is going to go at $100 at a barrel, neighbor. I am not 100% perturbed or concerned in terms of the price of gas, neighbor, because we live in a side of the world again, neighbor. We have Canada here. Canada produces over 5 million barrels of oil per day. Canada can't even tap into producing more. US produces over 13 million barrels of oil per day. Venezuela produces over $1 million barrels of oil per day. So I expect, neighbor, that the powerhouse of the United States is, they know that they are responsible to a certain extent, neighbor, for the oil price right now. And I can definitely tell you that they're equivalent of their Minister of Energy I would believe, neighbor, that they are working on some plans, neighbor, for this side of the world, especially small and developing state like Jamaica, neighbor, because they know what the impact of if I should reach $150 per barrel, what it can have on small nations like this. So I can definitely tell you, neighbor, that I am not 100% worried right now. I know that something is definitely working out for small and developing state like Jamaica, neighbor. So we can tap in. We see we are US now, have a firm grip on Venezuela. So I wouldn't be surprised, neighbor, if some form of deal is mastermind or orchestrated again now back again with the Jamaican government and Venezuela because of all the regime change that is going on in Venezuela. So I'm optimistic, neighbor. I'm not really concerned to a certain level. I'm optimistic, neighbor, that it will get under some control within a certain time, neighbor. I definitely think so. You know, I think we're right in the backbone of the US, and they know, neighbor, that they play a role in this increase in the oil prices, and they know they don't want to look bad, neighbor, and I expect them to definitely try to come with some plan or some strategy, neighbor, in making sure that oil prices go back to some level of reasonable where a person's
and I think for the president, he has a midterm coming up soon. This will not help his cause. Let me ask you something, don't scratch. You know that I'm a reasonable political mind. That I tend to be as non-partisan as I can in my conversations. But you know, Scratchy, the more I study the Jamaican politics, I hear Mr. Oates saying earlier that the PNP is cultic. I regret not having a chance to explore that with him a little bit more, but I see where the PNP today, well, not the PNP as a party, opposition, but their surrogates are suggesting, Scratchy, that somehow the government's decision to end the Cuban medical doctors program was the United States bowing to the US pressure. And at the end of the day, Scratchy, I think the PNP knows that the program itself was flawed. Why do you think that they are doing that? And then they're going to raise the whole matter of the farm work program. What is wrong with these comrades, Scratchy? Why they can't be honest?
This is the PNP, neighbor. They always try to score cheap political points, neighbor. They always, and anything that has to do with the government, the Jamaica Labour Party government, anything that they think they can gain any from a political mileage from, neighbor, they tend to jump on it, neighbor. But we must also remember, neighbor, that this deal, neighbor, with the Cuban medical mission, neighbor, was signed in 1976. 1976, neighbor, it was the People's National Party who was the government at the time, and I can guarantee, neighbor, that when that contract was being signed, they knew exactly what they were signing to, neighbor. They knew it wasn't in tangent with international labor laws and stuff like that, neighbor. They still went ahead and signed it. Yes, previous administration from both political organizations, neighbor, went in and still didn't change anything about it or anything, neighbor. But for me, neighbor, I look at it from a point, neighbor, where I was saying to myself, neighbor, that something, neighbor, is important. And the Prime Minister spoke about this, neighbor. He spoke about this on previous occasion, that based on what is going on with geopolitics, neighbor, across the world, neighbor, we have to make sure that we are self-resilient. We have to make sure that we are in a position, neighbor, where we can make sure we look out for ourselves. Neighbor, I am not pleased as a Jamaican. I am not happy, neighbor, to know that we have a medical deal with Cubans, neighbor, working in the hospital, neighbor, for 50 years. That is total madness. No, we shouldn't rely on no one, neighbor, for this type of medical assistance.
You mean that we should be able to train our doctors?
Neighbor, we should have been able to train our doctors, neighbor, and put them in position of this, neighbor. We should never have nothing like this with Cuba for 50 years, neighbor. It is total madness. It should have never reached 50 years, neighbor. Something as critical to your sector as healthcare, neighbor. You don't rely on outside help, neighbor, so much for this, neighbor. So it is a flawed, neighbor. It violates international labor laws. It borders slavery, and definitely, neighbor, the government had no other choice, neighbor, because the government again is a signatory of international labor laws, neighbor, and it doesn't warrant, it doesn't help us, neighbor, in going forward with this deal. The greatest thing, the government offer these persons contracts, neighbor, and the Cuban government, maybe they stick them up and tell them that they cannot take the contract, neighbor. So we just have to understand and know that it is not anything about just getting rid of the doctors or the medical personnel like that, neighbor. It is as a result, neighbor, the type of contract that is signed between the government and the Cuban government, neighbor. It is not one that is in the best interest of the doctors and the Cubans who are here working, neighbor. It definitely violates the labor law, neighbor. And Jamaica, neighbor, a country like this, neighbor, and again, being in this part of the world where we are again, neighbor, the United States, neighbor, with their economic might and their military might, neighbor, they would definitely, I wouldn't say they bullied us, but they would definitely raise some form of concern towards us, neighbor, and saying that being that we're a signatory, neighbor, of international labor laws, it doesn't look good on us, neighbor, to be partaking, neighbor, or using our taxpayers' money, neighbor, to fund a certain type of regime, neighbor, that is violating their citizens and the workers that we have in here, neighbor. So it's not just to say we're running the Cubans, neighbor. We need the Cubans and we appreciate the Cubans. But the contract, neighbor, that govern how the Cubans are work and governs how the Cubans are compensated, neighbor, it is not one, neighbor, that a government like Jamaica, neighbor, who is a signatory of international labor laws, should be a part of, neighbor. And the private government had no other choice but to not sign over that new contract, neighbor.
So no scratch. Your take on Minister Faval tomorrow as she opens the budget debate. What are your expectations, style, content? Harry suggesting that, listen to me, she has to command the stage tomorrow. She has to come across as being very strong, very, very comfortable in this space. How you see it?
I kind of differ from Harry's point to a certain extent, neighbor. I think Jamaicans, neighbor, are fully aware of what anti-favor of her persona. Jamaicans are fully aware, neighbor, of how she come across and stuff like that, neighbor. I think what would be the most important, it's not her delivery, it's not the theatrics, neighbor, but the content, you know, more of the content that what she comes and present, you know, whether it is worthy or not. And I can definitely tell you that it will definitely be worthy, neighbor. So Jamaicans are very understandable of what anti-favalism is going to come with. Again, I wouldn't put so much pressure on her, neighbor, because the construct of the budget, neighbor, of her presentation that she's going to come with tomorrow is not something, neighbor, that is solely up on her shoulder or solely up on her back, where she's up at nights by herself, neighbor, going through this. This is done through the cabinet. This is done through financial secretaries, technocrats, and all of these type of persons, neighbor, who are well equipped and know what they are doing and know how to make the budget presentable. So I'm not worried, neighbor, much about her style tomorrow or anything. I know the content that she's going to come with is going to be okay. I think what Jamaicans will be looking forward to, neighbor, is the Prime Minister, neighbor, because we all know, neighbor, based on how our budget is constructed, the Finance Minister is just going to come and just lay the groundwork, tell us what is what, tell us where we're going to get the revenues, tell us how we're going to get the revenues, laying out on all of the expenditures and everything. And that is what is expected of her tomorrow, neighbor. I don't expect anything else from her. But now, what Jamaicans might be looking for, neighbor, if the Jamaicans are looking for the style, the Jamaicans are looking for the theatrics, not to say theatrics to a certain level, neighbor, but we know how the parliament operates and how budget presentation operates. I think the Prime Minister, neighbor, is a person who Jamaicans will be looking forward to. Jamaicans' budget tend to go in a state where is the Prime Minister is the one, neighbor. Yes, he's the leader of the cabinet, he's the leader of the government. The Prime Minister is the one who tend to normally come with the goodies, who normally come with the good news. You know, if there's any mishaps or any misunderstanding, the Prime Minister is the one who is expected to come and clear up these things and make certain things clarified and stuff like that. So I'm not putting any pressure on anti-favor, and I don't think much pressure is on anti-favor, neighbor, because again, this is a budget, neighbor, that is reviewed by the whole cabinet. And we have competent persons in our cabinet. So I don't think the whole pressure is upon her. All she has to do come tomorrow is just lay out what she have to lay out, neighbor, say what she have to say, and we know that the Prime Minister will finish it. So I'm not concerned that to say she have a whole heap of pressure on her back come tomorrow, or she have to make sure that she do this, or she have to make sure that she do that. Because again, the budget is not solely the responsibility of anti-favor, neighbor. It is the cabinet and the technocrats that make up the different ministries and agencies, and the financial secretaries. These are competent persons who have been a part of the budget process, whether PNP is in power or whether JLP is in power. So I'm not worried, neighbor, about her presentation tomorrow, neighbor. A lot of persons might be saying that, yes, they are looking for a certain for her to come into delivery a certain way. But again, Jamaicans, neighbor, know that this is not anti-favor, is not a Nigel Clark, where Nigel can come with his certain style, his flamboyant style and stuff like that. We know how anti-favor persona is. We know how humble and reserved she is. We know how she speaks. And we just know that it's not how she speaks or anything that is going to send the budget. We know that it's content that makes up the budget, neighbor. And that content that is in the budget, neighbor, is made up by the cabinet of Jamaica, neighbor. So I'm not putting in much pressure on anti-favor.
Okay, fantastic. Moderator, can you get me Teddy Lee Gray to 2 minutes. I want to ask him a question before I close. Teddy Lee Gray, can you get him for me? Harry? So Harry, the budget process, you have the Minister of Finance, then you have opposition spokesman, then you have the opposition leader, then you have the Prime Minister. Would you make any change to that schedule?
Well, not really, neighbor. I think it's perfectly fine. It gives, the opposition finance minister to come and say what they need to say. I think with the actual minister coming first, neighbor, I think
Yes.
people won't really be looking at what the opposition is saying, right? And that in itself may help the opposition get under the radar. But I think where the pressure will be is the fact that the opposition leader would be coming just before the prime minister himself. And then what that does is, Jamaica have this thing where say save the best for last in that essence. I don't think the opposition leader has enough to hold the Jamaica's people's attention and to that understanding to put him in the forefront. So they'd more likely be looking for the Prime Minister to see how he will be handling, all the issues that is arising, the elephants in the room, not just one elephant, and how he will deliver along it. So I don't have a problem with the lineup name, but I think it gives a fair shot of criticisms and also giving the opposition leader maybe a chance to put forward what he would do, things that he would see and see if Jamaica people buy into it, which I highly doubt. But it's just how it's set up, neighbor. I really and truly don't have a problem with it. I do hope though each person take advantage of the time they're given, because this is hard-earning taxpayers' money being spent by Jamaican Parliament, no free, neighbor. And I think we're looking for value. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit, you have to bring value to the forefront now, because now is not a time to play games. Now is a time to either put up or shut up. And right now, the opposition is not looking good on their part. So this is another era of opportunity for them to potentially rise and be of relevance once more that adds value.
Okay, fantastic. Final thoughts, Stretch?
For my final thoughts, neighbor, is I see the word hooray, neighbor. I just want to touch a little again about the Cuban thing, neighbor.
Yes.
People might be saying, as the person saying that it's sad, neighbor, that it took the US government to come in and pressure whatever, neighbor. But we have to understand, neighbor, that past administration, neighbor, might have saw the flaws, neighbor, but based on the needs, neighbor, at the time, neighbor, of the situation, neighbor, are how important, neighbor, these medical personnel from Cuba were, neighbor, to the system at the time, neighbor. Maybe it wasn't in the best interest, neighbor, to cut the program at that time. So maybe right now, neighbor, everything happened for at the right time, at the right season. So I think maybe right now, neighbor, I was listening up to something today, neighbor, and they said that the government didn't know. The government didn't know, neighbor, of the contract, neighbor, how stringent the contract was, and a lot of the flaws that was in the contract. So I can say, neighbor, that everything happened happened for a reason, happened at the right time, neighbor. But not to bash the government again and say that the government get rid of the Cubans or anything like that, neighbor. We must understand in the context, neighbor, that it violates international law. The government did reach out to the Cuban regime, neighbor, and ask the Cuban regime, neighbor, to change certain things in regards to how the contract is set up, neighbor. And the Cuban regime rejected it. And the government had no other choice, neighbor, but to say, okay, then since you will not change anything in the contract, where we can't go ahead with this, neighbor, again, because you are violating persons' human rights and international labor laws and stuff like that. And the Cuban regime failed to respect and understand that. But my biggest thing, neighbor, was that the fact that the government offered these persons, neighbor, contracts, neighbor, and it's up to these persons now, neighbor, whether they can take up these contracts or not, or whether the Cuban government will allow these persons to take up the contract or not. And just up to us now, as Jamaicans, neighbor, as a government, and we have something that we call the National Health Fund. I think, neighbor, that the time has come, neighbor, where Jamaica need to be self-reliant to a certain level, neighbor. A critical sector, neighbor, like our health sector, We shouldn't be dependent on any outside country, neighbor, for 50 years, neighbor. 50 years, neighbor, signing a 50-year contract with these guys. We should have fixed this from 20 years ago. We should have fixed this from 30 years ago. We should have fixed this from 35 years ago. Make sure that, neighbor, any position, neighbor, that we are fully aware of, that we are short of in our medical sector, neighbor. I'm sure, neighbor, it's not only Cubans who can train or Cubans who can school and offer these type of training. We must look at this sector more seriously, neighbor, and fill these gaps, neighbor, so that in future, neighbor, we don't have these problems again, neighbor. We don't have anyone have to come in and telling us to do this or telling us to do that, or not to say persons are pressured. We don't violate any form of international labor laws and stuff like that. So the government must look at that, neighbor. Healthcare, neighbor, is too important. Healthcare, neighbor, is too critical for us to be reliant on an outside nation, neighbor, to offer us certain service, neighbor, for 50 years. I don't like that, neighbor. That doesn't sit well with me, neighbor. I don't think we should have gone so long with this program, neighbor. If it's opticians, neighbor, I am sure, neighbor, that
Yeah, like specialists. You can bring in specialists, eh?
yes, neighbor, I am sure that there are schools in Jamaica, there are schools outside of Jamaica, outside of Cuba, neighbor. We can train these persons, neighbor, and government, if there's a shortage, neighbor, it is a responsibility of government to craft programs, neighbor, and craft special programs and find the funding, neighbor, to get these people, neighbor. And I'm sure, neighbor, that Jamaica, neighbor, we have a lot of bright people in Jamaica, neighbor. I know we have a lot of bright persons in Jamaica, neighbor.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am not pleased. We should have never relied on Cuba, neighbor, for this program, neighbor, for 50 years, neighbor.
Absolutely.
That's total madness. That's total madness.
You're quite correct. You're quite correct. Hold on there for me, Scott. Teddy Lee.
Yeah, bless up the neighbor and everybody.
Teddy Lee, you must be one of the most provocative online blogger. Some would even say controversial. Would you say, Teddy Lee, that you are a supporter of the Labour Party?
Why ask that?
It's nothing for you to be ashamed. Would you say you support the party?
Yeah, man, I'm a supporter of the jail.
Okay. I see where you are suggesting that the Prime Minister timing in accepting his salary was off. Why?
Yeah, man, the timing that remember after Hurricane Melissa, so we have to kind of understand the timing is off. We can't go around it. Now the Prime Minister maybe should accept it from 2023. You know,
yeah,
what I
but
mean?
that is a past. That's past fact. When he not having accepted it in 2023 steadily, when would be a right time to accept it?
Next year would be appropriate. Next year.
But what if there is another hurricane next year? What if there is a global financial meltdown? What if oil prices soar and the Jamaican economy is stagnant? Would you not say then that when is the right time to accept your salary?
All right, so remember, we can't predict the future. We don't know if no hurricane have come. We are talking about Melissa. You know what I mean? By the way, I'm one of the man record saying Mr. Owen is from Fikaleke money. So I have no problem with the money, but the timing.
Yeah, man, it's the timing. I'm just trying to get to understand, because I've heard you being criticized for that post you made that the Prime Minister's timing was off. And I want to give you an opportunity to.
People know my stance already. Big up maybe rate the jail pay and everything, but we have a vice, we have a big tent in the party, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think the timing, I think the distraction, right now, even though they died down, but basically this was basically a distraction. The PNP basically might use it, boy, the Prime Minister and caring and this and that. I just say timing. But the Prime Minister basically can maybe donate some percentage of his money to basically kind of, you know, go past that argument, you know what I mean? I'm a man who support the JLP, but I'm also political. I know politics out there on the ground. And right now it's like that. This was basically distracting from certain things. Remember, we implement some new tax and those stuff. So even though 28 million or 27 million is basically not even is a drop in the bucket for 30 billion billion dollar new tax or whatever the number is. So, but you know the people overall, you know the PNP and everybody are gonna say the Prime Minister, this and that. But I think the timing was wrong still, and that doesn't make me not a laborite for basically criticizing.
No, not at all. Man, Scratchy,
Yes, neighbor.
timing.
Again, neighbor, I don't, I mean, timing, neighbor, is something, neighbor, that at some point in time, neighbor, the Prime Minister had to took his salary increase, neighbor. And whether it's after Melissa, neighbor, I don't think the Prime Minister was getting, I believe, 29 million, neighbor. Now he might get it 9 million before. I know it might be an additional 20 million, neighbor. I don't see that additional 20 million. We have to think logical, neighbor, and put things in context. The $20 million, whatever increase the Prime Minister get now was his salary. I'm taking that salary, neighbor. It don't stop anybody roof from going on, neighbor. It don't stop any zinc from being bought, neighbor. It don't impede, neighbor, the reconstruction process, neighbor. 10 billion Jamaican dollars, neighbor, was allocated, neighbor, for reconstruction of the disaster area. 10 billion Jamaican dollars compared to whatever the Prime Minister get, neighbor. It's like a being penny wise and pound fool, you know. So we cannot understand, neighbor, that the Prime Minister took his increase, neighbor, in his salary, neighbor. At some point in time, neighbor, he stand at the time when he didn't take the increase, neighbor. He was standing in solidarity, neighbor, with Jamaicans, neighbor, who came out and talking about the salary increase at the time. We have an opposition leader, neighbor, who do have any roles, any roles, any responsibility, neighbor, who is getting a higher salary at the time than the Prime Minister. That doesn't make any sense, you know. So if we're gonna say the Prime Minister should not have taken his salary, neighbor, because of the timing, I think it would make sense, neighbor, then for us to say to the opposition leader, then we have Melissa, and the Prime Minister is not taking his salary. Why you taking your salary? Give up your salary. I think that is where the conversation should go then. As I said, neighbor, damn if you do and damn if you don't, you know. And I don't see the Prime Minister taking that salary impeding the reconstruction process, stopping anyone from getting a nail, any house, any roofs from being reconstructed or anything. You know, it doesn't impede it in no way, shape, or form. This is politics, neighbor. And PNP is gonna always be PNP, neighbor. So if the Prime Minister should look at every single decision that he's gonna make, and he's gonna say he's not gonna make this decision because of what the PNP is gonna say, neighbor. Who would not 3/4 of what is going on in Jamaica right now? Who would not be going on right now, neighbor? The PNP is here, neighbor, to stop every single thing that has to do with progress, everything that has to do with the development of Jamaica. And the Prime Minister not taking that salary, neighbor. If I'm not correct, neighbor, you can correct me. I believe, neighbor, it was also stopping, neighbor, the former Prime Ministers, neighbor.
Yes.
From also getting their increase, neighbor, in their salary as well. So we can't see the timing is up, neighbor, because of a hurricane. Next year we could get a torpedo or something worse than a hurricane. And what we're gonna say? Whatever salary the Prime Minister get, neighbor, it doesn't impede. It is not coming from the reconstruction money. It is not coming from the loans that were given to Jamaica for the reconstruction, neighbor. This was budgeted. This is a part of the compensation package review, neighbor. The Prime Minister surely deserves his package, neighbor. We cannot have an opposition leader who has no role or no responsibility running around the country with the misinformation, disinformation, collecting a higher salary than the Prime Minister. And then we're going to come and say the Prime Minister should not take his salary right now because he should stand in solidarity with Hurricane Melissa victims. Give me
a minute for response. So me say that the comment section beat and teach, but I don't know what that means. All right, so I respect everybody's opinion on certain stuff, you know what I mean? Even though I'm a laborite, my thing by social media basically to reach out to the independent. So big up every laborite, but my thing I feel basically cheerleader, preach and them thing there. We don't know where most people lie already. People will support the JLP and the party no matter what. Now, as Mr. The timing, man, one of the man them from last year said, Prime Minister, take your money. So whether we can argue that the Prime Minister should have taken his money when the election was coming out, him should take the money. You know what I mean? So we can't say after Hurricane Melissa, a new tax on them that come on, we are going to say the timing is okay. You know what I mean? When the Prime Minister basically say some of the campaign promises them or we promise, basically some of them due to the hurricane, some of them have to revise on them thing there. So even though $28 million is nothing, you know what I mean? I will understand the standing, solidarity, this and that, but I just say timing, you know what I mean? You know, I'm trying to take it from last year, and now we never predict Melissa, but we have said this year now, the timing, you know, we have to kind of agree. First time in what, 10 years or 8 years, we have new tax. So imagine new tax coming due to Hurricane Melissa, and then the Prime Minister is like the destruction of the Prime Minister salary. It's like I give the vloggers them a lot of work for do. You know what I mean? Because the PNP them have focused on that. I said the prime minister take money when him deserve it. But you know the argument I say the prime minister now not caring. You know what I mean? Which we know the prime minister is caring because from 2023 him shall take it. You know what I mean? But as I said, there's the timing, you know, it could be taken next year. You know what I mean? I love that message.
Teddy,
That's no
Teddy,
problem.
look at it this way. Look at this. Look at it this way, right? Hindsight is 2020. You can never be wrong with hindsight unless something is wrong with the individual. But this money is budgeted regardless of when he takes it. Now, for helping out the bloggers here, because they say it would be a lot of work for them. No. But how about the spin of it to say, being that the Prime Minister has been governing the country from 2023 with a $9 million salary, why not look at it to say we've been governing and getting great governance on a $9 million budget, which means we're getting value for money. We're getting more than what we're paying for. That is also something the bloggers could have spin if they were looking at it. So really and truly, it doesn't matter when he would have taken it. Hold on, it doesn't matter when he would have taken it.
Ari, you're going on the street, right? Or just social media with that?
Teddy,
Yeah,
here, I am everywhere, but hear what I'm saying, right? There are some things that are going to be 9-day talk. There are also some things in which you can take it from a different angle. So it would have been up on the bloggers now to do a comparison between opposition leader and the prime minister. That is one angle to take it. Now, you have to be in this space because the social media space, for example, is unforgiving. So when you look at it, you know, you are going to have people with perspectives. You're going to have people who are wrong and strong. And Jamaicans naturally were very enthusiastic. We're very strong-willed people. And we know that. So I don't think we should let a small or a minute set of persons who will run this 9-day talk with no real ammunition or no real fuel behind it to continue push it. Because really and truly, the future is unknown. Hindsight is 2020. And the bloggers could have done a whole lot of work with that discount. You could have said you're governing the country on a discount.
No, but Ari, even we tell you say no, that's standing solidarity, we putting in the tax.
Hold on, is a PNP issue this? I believe a PNP alone have a issue with this.
Yeah, man, a PNP.
It is being pushed by PNP.
You say it yourself. You say about the PNP, where the PNP TikTok, you say it yourself.
Yeah, man, we say, but we are saying is a PNP issue alone.
Of course, a PNP issue. Because I tell you, what I'm telling you about a PNP issue, you talk about taxes. You say him should stand it, him can't put on tax and then go take the salary. So tell you, the tax that the government put in is a man that drink rum. I don't want a man that drink rum, so can't start the price from getting paid. This tax to the government imply is not you can bypass this tax. Neighbor, this tax don't must affect you.
I don't support rum and those stuff and drinking. You know,
but you talk about the tax. This is what the tax is.
People drink for whatever reason. So maybe me and you don't support it, but you can't kind of brush aside.
No, but listen, Teddy, I'm telling you that you're saying that him should stand in solidarity with the tax. He don't have to stand in solidarity with no tax because the tax don't affect each and every single Jamaican. The tax only affect who drink rum and who want drink sweet drinks.
Yeah, but how much of the population drink rum and see, at least
they don't have to. They don't. Teddy, Teddy, this tax don't affect the whole Jamaican. You can't leave a Jamaican don't pay and this tax don't do nothing. You don't have to drink no rum. You don't have to drink no sweet drink, and the tax don't bother you. It's not like a tax that is broad across the board where every single Jamaican is going to suffer from this tax. Every single Jamaican is not going to suffer from this tax. So the Prime Minister don't have to stand in solidarity with no rum head. He don't have to stand in solidarity with nobody who wants to over drink sweet drink.
Steve, remember people use rum for whatever reason for drinks and they don't make it look like...
No, man, I don't have to stand in solidarity with them people.
They use it to wash their face up.
There's nothing on this earth to rum. We need rum for.
Dash a little like you out of your front yard, run away duppy.
You can't avoid rum. You can't avoid sweet drink. Then don't have to stand inside with no rum head.
All right, gentlemen. I think we have passed this topic now. Can we move on, please?
Well, I never bring it up still.
No. Yeah, I brought it up because I got something that you were saying that the prime and I gave you a chance to explain it. And I respect you as a man that
for the political fence. A person like me will vote for at least 4 times for the JLP. I'm on the fence. Like, I understand.
Teddy, no justification is needed, you know.
Even though I
Teddy,
support the party, I'm an
Teddy,
independent thinker. May I listen, man?
no one. There's no justification needed on anybody's stance on this program or otherwise. Everybody has their own views and they will share it. And of course, you said we'll respect whatever people say. So you don't have to necessarily, bring up what is happening in the chat.
Yeah. One more thing before you go, Teddy. I know you do political forecasting. What is your take on views coming out of the opposition that Mark Golding is to be challenged next year? You think it's gonna happen?
It kind of 50-50.
No.
I think it's 50-50. I think polling, for example, let's say maybe next year, June, if the polling are saying Mr. Golden is not doing anything, like he's not leading Mr. Holness in any poll, or the PNP is not doing well, I think Damian Crawford and others will say, hey, after Hurricane Melissa and everything, and yet still the polling don't look good for Mr. Mark Golden. Obviously, I think next year is the only year I believe they can challenge.
Right, they would have to
Mark
do it
Golden.
two years after that.
Yeah, and that's 2029, and they would do it.
Right.
They're basically in a general election. So it's have to be next year, but I think they're going to maybe use the polling and those stuff. So if the polling don't look good for Mark Golden, they're going to say, all right, time for change Mark Golden.
All right, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Teddy. You stay away too long, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man, we're there. And we said maybe one day we'll talk about the Cuban and those stuff, or maybe come forward later the program.
Yes.
So maybe one day we'll talk about one overseas, you know?
You bet. Thank you.
I'm controversial on that side, you know, right?
I know.
You know, a lot of labor don't like it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Take care.
Yeah, bless.
All right, guys. Let's wrap. Let's put a wrap on the program tonight. Caroline, what a rough program, Iman. We have been here from 6 o'clock.
Boy, I tell you, neighbor, it was not what I anticipated, but
Well, it's all right. Yeah, I was happy that we did a lot of work today with the Cuban situation. You think we should repeat that?
no, I think it's time for us to move on. PNP are going to be PNP, and we will just have to keep doing what we do. But it's time to move on, neighbor. We have the budget to focus on.
Okay, all right. Shafeen,
Yes, neighbor.
how you doing? Long shift?
Yes, I am well. Interesting this evening.
Uh-huh.
You know? I just
You want the tape? You want the tape?
a quick comment on Cuba. You know, I'm really appalled that the PNP government knew this and hid it so well from the Jamaican public. Because we're a people who believe in paying people when they work, you know.
Yeah.
We don't believe in free labor because, I mean, we know where we're coming from ancestrally. We don't want to do that to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm pretty sick to my stomach that they did that and participated in it, and then act like they weren't doing anything wrong. And every time when, you know, something was happening in the region politically, then they act like, you know, they're the victim, they're defending the victim or whatever. But it's so much more complicated.
Yeah.
You know. So that's my take on it. I hope my people wake up and see things for what they are.
Yeah. Absolutely. Brother Harry, hey, how was tonight, man?
It was interesting, neighbor. Very interesting. I missed a part of it, but the parts that I've caught, you know, always informative. But I think, as Caroline says, the outcome that we may have been looking for in terms of getting a lot more information out of a lot of ideas and perspectives. May not have come to the forefront tonight, but nonetheless, our listeners can pick things up. They can have an understanding of it. But I want people to understand that this Cuban thing, it is greater than just the airtime it gets, because the truth of the matter is that our Caribbean sisters and brothers just might have been, and this is a very strong take, neighbor, but looking at the definition of trafficking, let's just say that Cuban agreement, not with the government, but that of their own people, is no far-fetched from trafficking.
Yeah.
And that for me is not something I want to see my Caribbean brothers and sisters to suffer from.
Yes.
Can you please accommodate protecting for 2 minutes to add a little spice here?
Is spicing up something? By the way, listeners, I don't see the chat messages so often, I must tell you the truth. It depends on which of the cameras I'm looking in. I don't see the screen. Okay, let's it's 19 past 10. Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna have to turn my camera off for a minute though. You can engage him for me, please. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, neighbor. Good evening, Caroline, Harry. Scratchy, we don't know where Scratchy there, and Chef Reen, and those who are listening.
Before you start, may have the fire brigade and the fire truck right outside, so nobody blaze too much fire.
Yes, man. Good as want a beat to line them up when they run water. You know what? I feel sick, and I feel bad. I am disturbed. No matter the ills happening in other countries, no matter what goes wrong, I have never heard other citizens in other countries clamoring for their prime ministers, presidents, or leaders to not take their salary. I've never heard it. I don't know if you now watch different news than BBC and CNN and all the rest of them when me watch. I have never heard it. I have never heard it. And it is so despicable. And the brother just say, I'm not just PMP, But you want me telling you something? It is pure, raw, bad mind. And it is happening right across the board. It has nothing to just do with PMP, even though they do it more. It is just a Jamaican thing. Where you're very neighbor with bad mind, you're able to live in our black house and them make full decision and live in our border house. It is so wrong. Nobody's calling for the white man to give up in $25 million and him not do nothing in Jamaica but distract, obstruct, and a tear down Jamaica. Nobody's calling for him to give up his money. But the most consequential leader in the history of the country, nobody no want him get paid. Are we serious? Well, no. Is this for real? Is this a scripted performance we in? Is this a movie? The man have done so much in 1 decade. Just imagine the People's National Party stood in the way of independent Jamaica. Norman Manley did not want Jamaica to get independence. And the modus operandi. Norman Manley actually sided and signed with the colonial masters until the call for a referendum where them couldn't escape. The People's National Party have always championed against Jamaica. Them signed deal with the Venezuelans that does not benefit us but benefit a few in the PMP who get them pocket stuff. Them signed deal with the Cubans that does not support the international labor laws, and even our own constitution it does not, because our constitution say People must move around with freedom. And the PMP signed deal where the Cubans' passport were taken away. Never in the history of Jamaica have the PMP done anything that is in support of our constitution. And nobody in a ball for them give back the money where them collect under false pretense. But all of a sudden, Andrew Holness, we keep rescuing Jamaica time after time after time and building while he's rescuing and fixing the mess where PMP stop. And you have big old great tone man come up on platform and talk about Andrew. It is wrong timing for Andrew taking pay. I feel so sick to listen to that buffoon. He's a damn idiot. He's an imbecile. And I felt like I had to say that tonight. Maybe me wouldn't sleep good tonight if me never say it. Thank you very much, Caroline and neighbor. Me 2 minutes done.
Protecting you almost get the fire brigade, you know.
Bandolier on the storm redeem. Oh. By the way, listeners, I said I needed some roses tonight because I need to move this up to level 36 and I didn't get them. So I don't know what's happening here. Why are you not sending any roses to the program tonight? What we do? Caroline, what's happening? By the way,
As a matter of fact, I was hoping I could get 300K taps and I'm not getting it.
yeah, the program is not growing on the algorithm at all because the listeners are meaning out. What am I meaning out for?
Yes, can I get the 300K taps before we go, please?
Please remember that on Saturday we start at 3 o'clock and we're going to be having an anniversary show. This Saturday, 3 p.m., 1 year anniversary celebration of the Politics Plus podcast. Last night, we gave out a trivia question where we asked, when we started the program, what was the name of the program? Our friend Jamaica Princess won $2,000. 2,000 Jamaican dollars credit because she knew that the name of the program was The Voice from the Vine. Caroline, the question tonight is, what month did Caroline take over moderating this program? What was the month? You have to give us the month and the day, the date of the month. It's a big guess game tonight. You're not going to win it. Wow.
It is not me.
Politics. Huh?
Oh, well, Joyce got it. June.
We said we need a date in June. we
No,
need a date
neighbor.
in June.
No, neighbor. Joyce Major got it. June.
It's June. Okay, Joyce. All right, Joyce. Congratulations. Congratulations to you, Joyce. All right.